Hey guys, before we get into today's episode, I just want to give a quick heads up. This conversation includes some heavy and sensitive topics, things like mental health, trauma, and other experiences that might be triggering for some people. If that's you, please take care of yourself. Reach out to someone you trust or contact a local support service. These conversations are real and raw, but they're shared to bring hope, healing, and understanding. Well, welcome, Casey, the Rise Above. Mate, it's a pleasure to have you in. Obviously, we know each other, got a lot of mutual friends, but obviously my heart for this space is to have raw conversations and bring people that share that same passion, which I know you do, and the stuff you're doing in the community is incredible, and your story and where it originated from is something I want to dive into today. But, mate, again, thank you for making the time.
Mate, it's a pleasure to be here. And like if I reflect back on when we met, both very different time in our lives and completely different world to where we are now, which I suppose it's life, right? It's a journey.
Yeah, it is.
Things happen along the way.
Yeah, mate. Back in Burleigh, 2010.
I don't know.
2010. Well, I was only there for 1 year, so. But
It was Coach Diggers.
yeah, Jiggers.
Was that the pre-season where we climbed the mountain
Yeah.
and Bumper was singing songs at sunrise? Yeah.
Oh, good times.
I think that was our issue. We had too many good times.
Mate, we had the best Q Cup team and just didn't even make the semi-finals. Just, yeah, anyway, that's another world.
Blame Nathan Ross.
Grateful, mate. But again, it's all, shaped our journeys and, things we can look back on and, have a laugh, and glad that experience happened. But, mate, your story, obviously, you do incredible work for LIVIN now. Just to give everyone insight, most people know what LIVIN is, but for those people that don't know, what is LIVIN and what is your mission?
Well, our mission is to create a future where suicide is no longer the number one killer for young Australians. And that all came about back in 2013 after we lost a great man by the name of Dwayne Lally to suicide. After his passing, I didn't know how big of a problem suicide was in not just this country, but right around the world. And we didn't understand how many people live with a mental illness or a diagnosable mental illness every single year. And, we dug a little bit deeper and we found there were so many people just like Dwayne living in silence through fear of judgment because of this thing called stigma. Dwayne was a larger-than-life character. From the outside looking in, he had the perfect world. He was a good-looking dude, always looked happy, but, behind closed doors, he lived with depression, bipolar. And, yes, that caused him sort of a considerable amount of trouble, but what caused him more trouble was that stigma. He thought that he was a burden. He thought that he was a weirdo. And he thought that the world would be a better place without him, which just is not true. But what we learnt was Dwayne wasn't alone. So many people just like Dwayne, the exact same story, and they just don't access support because of lack of education, really. And that's when LIVIN was born. Our mantra, "It ain't weak to speak," kind of came along pretty quickly as well. And we wanted to teach people that it ain't weak to speak and to put their hand up and ask for help if they needed it. And we also wanted to teach people how to support the people in their life if they recognize that they were struggling. So when we started, we had no idea what we were going to do. We first started by selling clothes as a way to raise money, and we were going to donate that to various charities. And the natural progression, we kind of just became a charity because we noticed that gap in the market, or there was a need for people to bring awareness to this issue, not just awareness, but education. So people did feel comfortable in talking about how they're feeling.
I think that's a key one, mate, is like I've always talked about awareness. It's like everyone's pretty aware of what we currently see. Like the stats haven't changed in so long, and I continue to say it, 7 men, 2 women today will take their own life. And they don't seem to change, but I've always, even with my stuff that I'm doing, I'm like, awareness was there, and it's like, well, how else can I add value to this space? And, I do my men's group and other things, but I think the most important part of what you just said then is giving people the tools and education around, well, then how do we, if we are in that situation, how do we improve? How do we get better? And that education wasn't around, both when you and I were younger, and even for a long time, it's improved. And a lot of it is a reaction to incidents. Like, obviously LIVIN was born from that. And not to put it down on that, but it's a lot of this space is a reaction, and instead of being reactive, we need to be more proactive. And I love what you guys are doing in that space, because it's not, the t-shirts are great too, mate, and never, disregard that, because I even say, just seeing that can always be a conversation starter. And I know, even with our stuff, like, I've had many people come up to me just as men of gold and be like, what is that? I've had many people, and it's just a question, but then it sparks a conversation.
Absolutely. And that was the beautiful thing that came off the back of it. And our clothes, and in particular our stickers, have actually saved lives. Got stories to back that up. There's that nod too. So if you're walking down the street and you sort of see someone wearing it, or if you're wearing it too, you just give this nod of the head. It's like this nod of understanding, like, I got you. It's also, they spark conversations, but it's also created this community of people that understand, and they also make people feel comfortable, and it's okay to talk about my feelings, or what I'm going through. And as for that education piece, the main thing that we do is we deliver free mental health education to high schools right around the country. We deliver it to corporates as well, and combined, we've delivered to over 330,000 people.
Wow.
Which into the high schools for free is not easy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the main thing that we do, and we're proud to stand behind that. Because, as you said, when we were in school, we didn't learn any of this.
No.
And the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, has always stood out to us, and that's why we need to get into high schools. Teach these kids while they're impressionable, while they're young, and then they just grow up, and it's second nature to them.
Yeah. Well, I think I fully believe, mate, we've all been through a traumatic experience in our life, some bigger than others, but I'm always a big believer of, you can change the way it's said, but the earlier the better for kids. And I know the way you would speak to a primary school compared to a high school would be completely different.
We don't do primary school yet, for that reason.
Yeah, well, I've always said, even with my boys now, I've been pretty open and honest with my story, but I only just recently had a chat to my boys about what I went through. And Jet's 15, he's almost 16, and Blaze is 13. And I assumed that, because my testimony was on YouTube for a long time, and when I kind of realized that this was becoming more public, I asked the church to pull it down, because the kids these days are just one click away from anything, on the screens. And Blaze come home from school one day and said, "Dad, my mates at school wanted to Google you." And I was like, "Oh no." And I'm like, because if you did at the time as a video, that would come up first. And so there was half of me that felt like they'd already heard or seen something about that. But I spoke to them the other week, and they hadn't. I shared my story and explained how important it was. Didn't go into detail, but they knew, the severity of what I went through. But I think it's important for me to do that, because I don't want them, they've been exposed to enough, through our divorce and stuff. I never want them to feel like they're alone. I never had that as a child. Like, I never had my own dad do that. But I never blame him for that. He only knew what he knew.
Yeah.
And it's a generational thing that we see. But I always want the kids to know that, this is tough. What I went through was awful, but I need you to be educated on the fact that it's okay if you are experiencing anything that I was, that you come and tell me. And whether you think I'm going to be mad about it, or upset, or you're embarrassed what you've done, or even if it's really bad, like, there's a way through it. And I think the more, because of my own story, it's made me closer to the kids in that aspect, to be close to them and give them that opportunity to know that it's okay to struggle and go through that. And the saddest part for me, I feel, in the society, even social media, they beep out suicide. So,
Absolutely.
like, I'm like, why we, covering this up from people? Why are we hiding the fact that this is a real thing? And I just get frustrated at times because I'm like, it's so imperative that we see change in this, but we have the world trying to, turn our heads from it, and just think, oh, if we don't see it or hear from it, it's fine. You don't hear about it on the news. You don't see it anywhere. And you're like, why are people so against actually being open and honest? And that's what gets me wild.
The biggest killer of young Australians too.
Yeah.
And we, I believe that's where stigma starts right there when we try and talk around it. We don't talk directly through it. And yes, there's a safe way to talk about it, and we have to talk about it in a safe manner, but we've got to talk about it because it's happening.
Yeah.
It's not something that's not happening. And that's also why we've been so, lucky is not the right word, but it's probably why we've received so much support because of how big of a problem it is in society. But I just, as you said, I wish we could talk about it more directly. Like without social media, we talk about it all the time, but there's consequences. We get throttled big time, and but we'll keep talking about it.
Yeah, it's good, mate. And we have to. And that's what I'm saying. People aren't going to, so we need people to jump on board. I even find on social media, mate, I have a wrestle with social media all the time, but it's such a highlight reel for so many people. But at the end of the day, like being so open and vulnerable and honest with our own situations, that's why I always say our own stories have the power to help other people. Even with, the men's group and stuff, you don't have to be at death's door to come and get help or to seek support, because even when we feel like our life's in a good position, and we could judge that based on our financial position, our possessions, our home, our family, and just think, oh, we've got it good, and we may, but doesn't mean we still don't struggle. And I feel like there's a lot of men and people in general wait till it's almost, so far gone to then seek the help, instead of being proactive individually as well, to be like, I'm not feeling the best, I'm feeling a bit off, and then go and get help then, not wait till, I think that's another one. But you're right, there's still that stigma around even just, saying you've got an issue or saying you're struggling, whether it's pride or an ego for men, but it's still there.
And I'm guilty of it sometimes myself. Like you get busy and you want to push through it, and I'll get help next week. I'm busy. I'll keep pushing through. And then it's like 6 weeks later and it's a really big problem. Whereas, if we just build these habits into, even if it's just maintenance and being proactive and practicing daily self-care and seeking help when we need it, that could be physical help too.
Yeah.
It's just that they've got to be non-negotiable. Don't wait until it's such a problem that it's stopping you from doing the things that you can normally do quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Because then in those instances, it could be too hard or harder to turn around.
I think the key one there is prioritize it. It's like, if we always say to people, and again, it's a wrestle of mine trying to do my men's group and trying to line it up because everyone's got an excuse why they can't make it. But I've always said, if you were working on Saturday and the boys had a race day organised, you'd take the day off work to make sure you went there, because you didn't want to miss out, because it's important to you and you wanted to have a good time. But as soon as we don't prioritise our mental health and realise we're struggling, but we don't actually prioritise it, then we just get further and further away from being where we need to be. And especially as fathers as well with children. And I've said, if we don't take the lead with this and go, well, I need to be better, not for just me, but for my kids, my wife, and those around me, because that is part of our role. Like, we need to lead in all areas of our life. And I've always said to people, if we don't decide to be vulnerable and take that courage to change what we've seen, that generational cycle, then essentially we're just giving this to our kids. We are saying, well, it was too hard for us and awkward or whatever we want to do. It's up to you now to try and change that. I don't want that for our children. I want, the next 15 years, when my kids are in their 30s, to be like, I'm so glad we are where we are because we grew up in the area where it was changing, and it mightn't be perfect, but I don't want to just reduce the numbers that we currently see. I want it gone. I don't want it to be an option for people. And I think we have to have that mindset. We can't be happy with, 9 people a day and then in 2 years' time go, oh, there's only 7. There's still 7.
Yeah.
Like we can't hang a hat on that. Like we can appreciate the improvement, but our goal should be to eradicate it altogether.
And that's the thing, they're all preventable deaths, every single one of them. And 9 people a day is huge. Like, people might think, oh, it's only 9, but every single one of those people have a family.
Mm.
They're an important member of society. They're human beings.
Yeah.
Life is so precious. And unfortunately, those people have made the decision that they can't wake up to regret.
Mm.
But they're all preventable deaths. And like the world is complex. Suicide's complex. It's multifaceted. There's no blaming anyone. But we just need to turn these numbers around, and we need to get to zero suicides.
Yeah.
Like I still don't have all the answers, and I've been working in this space for so long because you feel like you're making advances in one area, but then something else pops up, and so I still don't understand it.
Mm.
Life is hard. Life can be tough, and life sometimes can be very unfair.
Mm.
But I do know that life is also beautiful, and life is worth living.
Yeah,
It's
that's
worth
beautiful, mate.
persevering and
Yeah.
getting through it, because don't want to use too many cliches and quotes, but like after the rain, that's when the sun comes.
Mm.
Some of the best times are just on the other side of pain.
Yeah. And when you endure that too, mate, and I know now I'm the other side of it, but when you are better mentally and you can actually see the world like so different, because when you are stuck in that rut and you're battling whatever you are, it seems like, the whole world's against you and you're the only one going through it. But when you persevere and endure all that pain and, you go through the fire, like there is light at the end of that tunnel, and then it's actually almost like you've accomplished something and it's made you stronger. And that's why I think a lot of people too, like anything worth something, it's hard work. You've actually got to put hard work, and it's not excusing our own mental health and our own circumstance to go, well, it should be just easy. Well, it's not. Life's not easy, but it's worth it, and you only get out what you put in to it. And I was talking to our men's group last night about the most common thing that I find and at work, and you speak to a lot of blokes, is they're always arguing with their missus, or there's always me bloody missus, and it's never, oh, my wife's so beautiful, or I had such a great night with my wife last night. It's a key conversation starter, and it's about their wives. They're always arguing about it. And I'm like, and I not called someone out last night, but I just put themselves in a position to go, you're going through what you're going through at the moment, and you're copping it from all different angles. But each time you keep saying about, I always come home and me and my wife argue on this, and it's like, there straight away is an issue that you need to get resolved. And you've got your own stuff, but together there's obviously work that needs to be done there. And I think it's important to not just focus on what your individual stuff is happening for you, but it's affecting everyone else around you. And I know that from my own experience, but then actually going and being intentional to get the support for yourself, but for your marriage as well, because it's like, you hang around people that whinge and whine about their circumstance all the time when it can be resolved, when you can go and get help to fix that. You'll end up like that. You'll end up whinging about something, and you become that person. It's just like, it's so negative. When you said before, like, life is beautiful, and you made a commitment to your wife to want to spend the rest of your life with her. She should be your best friend. I don't want to argue with my wife every day, and I get it. We're going to, but we need to be in a good place, and not always, be whinging about our circumstance or our life, or our wife a lot of the time is at the forefront of that. And I just think there's a lot of men out there that struggle in relationships, and a lot of it's, a lot of their own issues coming out in that. But I think needs to be more men too, to be intentional with their marriage or their relationships as well.
Well, absolutely. I think we need to be more intentional with everything we do. Don't just let life happen to us. We need to happen to life. But one thing that I always ask when people do some things that just blow my mind, I just always ask, what's driving that behavior? Like when me and my wife can start arguing, I'm like, okay, what's going on for her?
Mm.
And we also work together. So we're around each other all the time. But with the fact that we work together, I know when she's busy. So oftentimes she's busy or she's stressed.
Mm.
And okay, well, that's what's driving this behavior right now. That's why we're fighting about something so small that means nothing.
Yeah.
Just digging a little bit deeper sometimes can give you that answer, so you can then just pull back, or they just need a little bit of a break at the moment.
Mm.
They don't need me coming back and meeting them with aggression or with an argument.
Yeah.
They just need a little bit of support and a listening ear.
Mm.
Because oftentimes taking that step back and asking what's driving this behavior can certainly help you understand what they're doing.
Yeah,
A
definitely.
bit better.
Yeah, you always say, quick to listen, slow to speak, because we always we want to be the ones, coming up with a solution or pointing the finger of why we are doing this. But when you actually take time to listen, it's, everyone feels like they've got the answer, but when you actually listen to them and actually understand them, like communication's been huge for us, and it's a work in progress every day. Like, I think a lot of us individually, our decisions and choices are made every day. Everything we do is our choice, and we got to make decisions, and we make bad decisions and we make good decisions sometimes, but a lot of it's choice. Like, no one forces us to do anything. And I think we always have that mindset, like life happens for us, like, and I like that, because it's like, even in the depths of, going through something so hard, it's like, it's a lesson. There's something we can take from that that's going to help us the next time we face that, or, we're going to build that resilience and know that we've gone through that. So we come out the other side and it's actually not that bad. But yeah, anything like that, whether it's our own work, relationships, again, it's all choice and how much you want to choose to commit to that. And actually, again, we come back to hard work. How much do you want to put into it to make it better than what it is? And that's why I say, going back to about seeing a psychologist or getting that support. I went through 5 psychologists before I found one that I could actually connect with.
And that's important. We talk about that a lot. Finding the right fit. Like, you didn't marry the first girl you took on a date.
No.
So why would you stick with the first psychologist you met if you don't have that relationship?
Yeah, that's right, mate. And I feel like it's an excuse for a lot of people that I went and then it just didn't work for me. And then they start saying psychology is not for me. And so it's an easy out for a lot of men, and I get it. And mate, I've been there before, even when I find my right psychologist and I'm in a good spot, but I've got my psychology booked for next Tuesday, and I get to Monday, and because I'm feeling good and I'm up and about, I'm like, I don't actually need to go. But they're the times we actually do need to go, like, and I've come out of it. My last psychology appointment, he said to me, he's like, how's things? And I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm pretty good. And I said to him, I felt like I didn't really need to come today. He said, I'm glad you did. And then we got talking, and by the end of the conversation, he's like, mate, your life's great. And he's like, the only thing you can't, like, that's a negative for you in your eyes is stuff you can't control. And we spoke about that, and I knew that. But he's like, but apart from that, your life's great. And even though I knew that going in, it was still, refreshing for me to sit down, because I've been on a journey with this psychologist, so he's known me at my worst and then can see me. And I think that's important, to have that relationship with a psychologist or whoever that is, because they're paid to do that for a reason. And I get psychology is not for everyone. I think it's not a one size fits all, but whatever that is, counselor, or there is a time where you need to go from having a close friend or someone you can lean on to actually getting the proper support. Yeah. Oh, definitely, mate. Because I think sometimes we're only capable of doing so much as friends. And I think one important key to that is, if you come to me with an issue and be like, Westo, I'm struggling, it's not my responsibility to fix that. But I know what I can do for you in that time. But it's then being the friend to support your progression, to go, you're not alone, I'm here for you, I'll do anything, but then support them to get that help.
Absolutely. What would you do in that situation if I came to you and said I was struggling?
I'd literally say that. I'd be like, I am here for you, mate, and and I'll do whatever you need. And I think the biggest thing I've taken away from it, I never push anything on anyone, because I'm like, as soon as I start becoming the professional, like, I know it all, because I don't. I can only share to you my lived experience with it, and that's why it's one of my most powerful tools for me, is because I feel a lot of people are drawn to me because I've walked that journey. So I utilize that, and that's why I'm so open and honest, and always say to people, if you need to talk, even if you don't know me, and reach out to me and go get a coffee, I'll sit down with you and have a coffee, because I want to see that, I want to be there for you, and I want to know that you understand that there's a way through it, and I don't have the answers, and I'll be open about it, mate. And I still don't have the answers, but I know what can work to get them through.
I think that's so important to share, and it's a big message that we share through our Living Well program. Sometimes friends or people are so scared to have these conversations because they think that they're going to cause more harm than good. Like, if someone comes to them and says that they're struggling, you don't have to have all the answers. And in fact, You don't need to provide any solutions. What you need to do is listen to them. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we need to listen twice as much as what we speak. Because oftentimes when you're throwing out all these solutions and all these, you should do this and that, we're not listening. Because when we listen, oftentimes people tell you exactly what they want and exactly how you can help them. But you just need to be able to listen and let them talk so they feel like they're heard and understood, and just be with them and get them to that support, that professional support if they're in crisis.
Yeah.
But oftentimes a listening ear is what that person could need in that moment of time. And there's also a lot of research out there that suggests it's very hard to say the wrong thing. Like if your intentions are pure and you genuinely want to help that person, very hard for you to say the wrong because your intentions will come across more than what your words will.
Yeah. I think the key part of it there is like for them to be heard. I think there's a lot of people in the past have gone through something and it maybe started to be vulnerable or open, and it's been met with negativity, or it's been squashed because it doesn't seem like it's a big issue. I'll get on with it, mate, or whatever. So then they go into their shell and then it rears its head again. And sometimes later in life, because it's a learnt behavior, we then go, oh, I'm not going to tell anyone about that anymore because I remember last time I did, and then, or I'm embarrassed to say it because the last experience I had. And that's why I say, if someone reaches out for support, that impression and your reaction to that could set them up for, how they respond to their next action. And that's not putting guilt or blame on anyone, but that's just reality. It's like, it's just more than listening, but it's given them the space to be heard, because often there's a lot of people never feel like they can be heard. So that's why they're avoided the conversation. So if you can sit there and listen, I've had many conversations with people that just say, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And it's hard too, because mate, I'll talk all day, but it's like, you do want to share, and probably share more than what you currently are, but there's a time frame with that. That'll come. And you just need to allow them to go at their own pace, but knowing that they can walk away from that conversation going, I feel so much better, and yourself, you get something off your chest and you share something that you might be struggling with. And then after it, you're like, wow, how good's that? I just feel a bit lighter that I'm not carrying that. And I mentioned too, like last night, I've been guilty of this in the past, where if I'm struggling with something and I know you're struggling with something, I mightn't reach out to you because I'm like, I know Casey's struggling. I've got this. I want to reach out to him, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to then add that to what he's already gone through.
Yeah.
And it's reciprocal. People have done the same to me. Like, West, I didn't want to reach out there because I know you got a lot on. And I'm like, mate, don't. So I say that to them, but then I don't do it myself. But I think anyone that's going through something, to know that there's, someone else is going through it, one, it just proves that you're not doing this on your own. There are other people. But what I'm going through isn't any less than what you're going through. And yours may seem on the surface like it's extravagant, and mine might seem minor to a lot of people, but it's still stopping me from being at my best. And I think comparison in this space, where a lot of people go, I don't want to share that and think that that's an issue because what he's going through is so much worse. And I think that stops a lot of people from opening up because they look at what they're going through and potentially what others are, so they don't talk about it.
And I think that comes back to communication. If we're all sharing what we're going through, we can find a way through it together and share our lived experiences of certain situations.
Yeah. Now, mate, I want to go back. So you mentioned early on that this was, LIVIN was birthed from, such a tragic incident in your life and many people's lives. And it's a big part of, my story of, I suppose, suicide and what we currently see. And that was the story in this case. Dwayne's death obviously has a ripple effect on the community, on his family and those that love him so much. And I think we understand the impact it has on people. And I know how close he was to you, mate, and from such a young age. Can you walk us through what life was like for Dwayne and yourself before this? I know you mentioned before, he said, he seemed like he had it all. Because I always like to get into before and then obviously from the impact, what's happened since. But prior to this, like, was there any signs for you to know that there was things up other than his diagnosis?
Uh, it's hard because he was open with me with his diagnosis. I don't think he was open with other people. Not everyone, like some people knew, but stigma was still very much there. But also, we all had a massive lack in our understanding of what mental illness is and what it can do to people and how it can affect their day-to-day life. But yeah, from the outside looking in, Dwayne looked as though he had the perfect life, like good-looking guy, always happy, always smiling, successful at kind of everything he did. Had a great family too, and he had a great relationship with his family. Like him and his mum were best friends. Him and his sister were best friends. Like and also his dad. Like his dad's one of the best people you'll ever meet. They were all so close. So yeah, if you were to sort of look at Dwayne from the outside, you would never have noticed. He was always that person too, going out of his way to make sure other people were having a good time. Yeah, there was another side to him where he was cheeky and I was usually the butt of all of his jokes. But yeah, from the outside looking in, he just wanted to make sure people were having a good time. He was also quite tough. Growing up in high school, he was an Australian champion boxer. He'd train at school, before school, in the car park, at lunchtime in the car park, and then after school. And he fought for a spot on the Com Games and he was still in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, so I say that because he's quite tough. He had 2 elbow recos, which kind of put an end to boxing, which I think might have had implications in his mental health, but it's so hard to say because it's a long time ago, and my understanding of the matter back then isn't what it is now. And yeah, I think Dwayne just wanted to be happy, and he wanted his family and his friends to be happy, and he thought that he was the reason why we weren't. And none of us were ever not happy. We just thought that he was a burden, and it's just not true. Yeah, he was my best mate since the first day of grade 1. And yeah, he had so many best mates because that's the type of person he was. He'd do anything for anyone. Yeah. So I reflect back on that night and I got that phone call from someone to say he's gone missing, and I don't think they understood what that meant or what that could mean. And I kind of just said to him, you need to find him. Otherwise he probably won't be here. And they were like, what do you mean? But yeah, as you said, it certainly has a ripple effect. And yeah, so many of us today are still broken. I don't think you never get over it. You just learn to get through it. And yeah, I knew instantly that we had to turn that negative into a positive. Seeing him in the morgue, and I just remember hearing the screams. And it was just weird. It's like he touched me on the shoulder and said, you need to do something. And not just me, like all of us. It was a community effort. And yeah, we didn't know what we were going to do at the time.
Yeah.
But here we are 12 years later, and I just think his spirit or his essence is in everything that we do. Because I couldn't have got through it alone, that's for sure.
Thanks for sharing that, mate. Take yourself back to when you initially find out. Like, you obviously know what he's dealing with and what he'd been diagnosed with, and many didn't. What was your initial reaction and feelings towards that? Because there's so many people out there have such a opinion about suicide, and what was your feeling? What were you feeling at the time? Obviously, you're broken, but what was your initial feeling?
Oh, numb. I was just so numb, and for a long time I had a bit of guilt, like I failed him. Back when he was still alive, and I didn't understand mental illness at the time. I didn't understand what depression or bipolar could do. I just knew that if he needed me, I had to be there, whether it was 2 a.m. or whatever time of day it was. I just knew that I had to be there. And I suppose that probably was a big part of why we then went down the education route. We had to educate people in what this is and how to support the people in their life. I don't think I was ever angry. I think quite early on I accepted that this was a decision that he made as an adult. I think it was a stupid decision. It was a wrong decision. It was also a decision that if he had the opportunity, he would regret and never make that decision again. But I just early on had to live with the fact that this was a decision he made, and I had to respect that. I don't agree with it, and I know he wouldn't have too. And give him his time over, he'd still be here. Just need to make sure we stop people from joining him. Yeah, it's all a blur. Life was honestly just a blur after that, and parts of it still are a blur. A roller coaster, and I kind of said to myself early on, it's going to be a roller coaster, and you just got to sort of whatever emotion comes, you just got to roll with it and feel it, because if you suppress it, it's only going to get worse and come back later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think also the community got us through. Like at that time, there's so many people coming from everywhere. The phone did not stop ringing, the messages, and it certainly helped. But I just always stayed close to his family too, which helped.
Yeah.
And I hope it helped them too. So.
Oh, I'm sure it has, mate. And, you know, what you're doing, I know how proud, you know, they would be, mate, of you. You know, to see what a community's done and what you've created it's pretty special, man. Like, you know, they can't bring him back, nothing will, but to know that through that tragedy, you've been given so many people opportunity to understand and to know that not only they're not alone, but there is a way through it through this education. I think that's incredible, mate. Like, and it's so beautiful for their family to have and to know your heart for that too, mate, which I think the scariest part of it all is the fact that on the surface, everything seems fine. And I think it's the scariest part of this whole issue we've got is that people feel, you know, they'll lose someone to suicide, but then they're like, the question's always, what could I have done? Could I have done more? Like, but then when you look at that situation and there's many like stories that are the same, it's common that people are like, he was the life of the party. He was always there to help people. He was always the first one to reach out. And I had a guy come to our men's group the other week and the same story, and he had just been promoted at work. He was going to be earning $300,000 plus job, and he was the one that people would go to if they were struggling, and took his own life. Like, and you just kind of, and I think that's where a lot of people, and I did, mate, when I was diagnosed with depression when I was younger, I was playing NRL, I had a family, just bought a house, and I never understood depression. I used to think that depression was people who were broke or on the street or stuff like that. And I'm like, how could I actually tell someone that I'm depressed when I feel like on the surface I've got everything I need?
Yeah.
And people would be so envious of that.
Which is kind of then what adds to the stigma.
Yeah, definitely.
Or the burden.
Yeah. And so until I actually understood, and I mean, almost too late for me, but I look at it and no one had any idea with my situation, but it's so common because when you actually educate yourself on the signs and seeing how people are leading up to it, there's so many things that we can all educate ourselves on and build capacity and capability within ourselves to understand the signs. I know even a small, and I shouldn't say small, but you know, getting your mental health first aid. Like, it might seem we spend so much time to make sure we've got our first aid, course done. Like, I'm fiery and we have to have it, and I get it. But what about our mental health first aid, especially in my job where I've been exposed to suicide. I've seen, dead people. Like, this is all traumatic. This is our job. We knew when we signed up, but why aren't we seeing more mental health, first aid courses implemented? Because the biggest thing I took out of that when I first did it was understanding, people leading up to suicide. Is actually knowing that, like, and you'll know probably more than me, mate, but, seeing people's behaviors change, but then there's a lot of closure that comes about, not for everyone, but that's a sign where start setting other people up, or giving things away. Is there things you've learned or understood where you can see signs in that?
I think you just touched on the most important thing. Like we when we deliver our programs, we go through the whole list of warning signs and symptoms. But I think the most important one, and this is an attempt to simplify it for people, is any change in what would be typical behavior for that person. It's all well and good because a lot of the warning signs and symptoms can contradict each other. So it's important to know the people around you well. And then any change in what would be typical behavior for that person could be an opportunity for you to reach out and explore what's going on. You can even say, hey, Westo, I've noticed lately that you've been rocking up late to work. It's been going on for a couple of weeks now. Is everything okay? And you might go, no, everything's good, mate. No. Is everything okay? Are you sure? Like, you're never late. And use those examples in conversation for them. And another thing, that feeling in the stomach that something isn't quite right. And you can't explain it. That could also be another opportunity to reach out and explore what's going on, because it's hard to remember all the warning signs and symptoms, but you'll never not notice that feeling. And oftentimes, in retrospect, when people did have a bad feeling about something, it's better to be safe than sorry. Reach out and explore what's going on. And at very worst, that person's they're going to feel great that you cared enough to ask them, is everything okay?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most simple but most memorable way I can put it. Any change in what would be typical behavior for that person could be an invitation to reach out.
I think too, mate, it's easy for us to say, how you going? And are you doing all right? And you're like, yeah, Westo, I'm sweet. It's this follow-up to ask them, are they actually okay? Because we've become it's almost like a greeting now. Like, how you going, mate? It's like the way we say hello. We don't even get an answer. You and I will greet and go, hey, mate, how you going? And you'll say the same thing to me. We actually don't get an answer. It's just,
sometimes you'll ask it again because you forgot you did.
But I just feel like when you're more intentional, and that's, intentional in so many ways in this space, but even asking the question, because whether it's a gut feeling, whether you've seen that behavioral change or whatever it is, I think just being intentional, the worst thing can come from it. And like you just touched on, but they can just say everything's sweet. And even if you believe that it's not, all you can do is continually be consistent with that and just
keep showing up.
Yeah, keep asking the question, and know then if that's on your radar, you don't have to take them out for coffee or do things and just be around them a little bit, because eventually if you create the space, I've always said that's important, creating a safe space for people where you ask them, they mightn't feel safe there.
Yeah.
So that could be a factor of why you didn't get the answer you got. But if you create that space and continually be persistent, eventually it'll come. I know from my own, and I didn't know this person, but I had a guy come to my men's group and he'd sit in the corner for 6 weeks in a row and he didn't say a word. He didn't even say hello. He literally was there. And I started getting to a point where I'm like, what's going on here? And prompt him, nothing. Week 7, man, couldn't shut him up. And, and it just showed it's like he was consuming so much for so long. And that was his pace. That's what he needed. And I think the fact that he kept showing up was, one, courageous. He didn't have to, especially when a lot of people are going, this guy's been coming for a while. Why doesn't he talk? But eventually he did. So it's not a one size fits all process, but I believe in creating that safe space, because like I said, where you ask that question mightn't be right at that moment,
Yeah, it's like a boxer. You just got to find the right angle and find what works for that person. And I know I probably oversimplified the warning signs and symptoms for people, but I think that's important. You don't need to make everything in this life complex. And the more complex something is, the less likelihood of you remembering it. So I try and keep it simple and just remind people any change in what would be typical behavior for that person. If you know them well, or if you get that feeling, just please reach out. Explore what's going on.
Yeah. And mate, Are You Okay Day? I know we talked about this earlier. It's something that I'm a little bit frustrated with as well, because I get it, what they do on the day and what they're about. Their hearts are in the right position. They want to bring awareness and do it. But my wrestle with it all the time is it's one day of the year. And we glorify it for one day, and then it's like after that, that's it. And that's my wrestle with it. I'm like, I don't.
That's society. Yeah. Are You Okay themselves? Definitely. They do so much great work throughout the year, and it's important to mention that they do fantastic work. But yes, society.
Yeah,
they roll out the cupcakes and the badges, and they tick that box and then they just go back to doing everything.
Yeah. And mate, I've gone and talked to organisations as well where they actually have things in place to make sure that that's part of their daily routine, you know, and making sure that their culture in their workplace is all for that. So there are some that will still celebrate it, but they celebrate every day. So it's different. But like you said, society get around it because it looks pretty and it looks like they're doing something good for people. And don't get me wrong, there are times where it does help people, obviously, but I think the mindset's got to be a daily thing. Like it can't be just, and I've never been about, I wouldn't say supporting it, but I'm like, this is where we are right now is something that's happening every day, and it's not just one day a year, it's every day. We're losing 9 people to suicide, and I think we need to let that sink in a little bit more and not just focus, you know, on one day of the year, and again, be proactive and providing that space in our organisations, you know, anywhere we are.
Absolutely. Like for us, our busiest day of the year is Are You OK Day? That's when more corporates and more schools want to get us out. But I try and encourage them to get us out there weeks and months in advance so that they can have a better Are You OK Day, where people are more likely to talk because it's everywhere. And something is still better than nothing. But yes, it's something that we can build into our everyday corporate or working life, because happy staff are more productive staff and they're more available staff. So if we're looking after their mental health and their physical health, they're just going to repay that.
Yeah.
And they're going to be better staff members and more reliable staff members. So my only issue with Are You OK Day, though, is, and they know this too, like Are You OK sounds great from a marketing perspective, but the best questions we can ask people aren't Are You OK? That's a closed-ended question. The best questions we can be asking are open-ended questions, so we can keep that conversation going, so we can explore what's going on for that person. And remember, continue to listen. Just got to keep listening.
Yeah, that's really good, that, mate. And I think a lot of people take that on board. I think the biggest thing for us too, mate, is, again, going back to being a good listener, but being intentional and not just asking the questions that almost tick a box to be like, yeah, well, I've asked them, are you okay? And then I've done this and I've done my kind of job. Like when your heart's in it and you're being intentional to actually pick up on all the signs or whatever, you're invested in it and your heart's in the right spot. And I think when you said before, when people are in that position, they feel that. And it's, whether it's the presence or it's just you being there for them, that rubs off on them. And I think that makes them feel a lot more comfortable, even if just on the early stages, they're not saying a great deal, just knowing that someone's there. Going back to what you said too about the businesses, I have a wrestle when I go and talk with NRL clubs, and I know what it's like being in that organisation and knowing how the structure and everything that goes, the planning that goes into a pre-season, into a season, it's so thorough. But trying to get in and prioritize, what I want to deliver with my stuff it's like pulling teeth sometimes. And
who are we calling out here?
Mate, I even said at Melbourne, I played there and I went down there and speak to it, but it was a wrestle for me, but not so much the club. It's more the performance staff to understand that it's okay to sacrifice a field session, just to have this, and you said before, to see the importance of how better the boys at Melbourne can be being exposed to what I wanted to, talk about, then that field session that you're stressing about that they didn't get in this week might be tenfold next week because they're in a better position. They're thinking things, mate. That conversation I had down in Melbourne, man, I had players, and I won't mention their names, high-profile players share things for the first time and actually break down crying. And, mate, it was so powerful, mate, all because the young bloke in the group stood up and shared something, and then it was a flow-on effect, man. And it went from me, because I don't kill people by slideshows. I literally just share my story and the importance around it and my lived experience. And eventually, and like I say to them, this isn't me just talking the whole time. I need you guys to buy into this. We're all grown men, and the only way we get through it is by talking it. There's no two ways about that. But then to see young men step up in a place and share things, and one in particular that never shared with anyone, man, and all his mates that he was close with at the club at Melbourne didn't know any of this stuff. And mate, that in itself, that one action from that young man to go, wow, we're now closer. We know each other on a deeper level. And it's not rocket science to understand that will bring you closer. Your performance will be better because the more you know each other and the more you understand each other, everything's going to be a lot easier. And so I did, mate. I literally said it like on the day. I was like, I know it was hard to get down here and actually get this across, but it's showing, I suppose, the old school mentality who are probably in these roles still, that this is more important than what you do out in the field.
It's not just NRL. Like we face that all the time with every single type of corporate that we go into. And like we delivered a session the other day, most expensive session we've ever delivered because it cost us $300,000. And I'm not going to say the business, but that was the cost of our session to that business because of downtime.
Wow.
The amount of people they had off the floor and in that room was costing them $300,000 for 45 minutes. So like I kind of see why sometimes they don't, but this stuff's important because you can't put a dollar figure on a life. If you unfortunately lost someone to suicide, or if someone close to them was lost to suicide and they were off for however many days, you can't put a dollar figure on that.
No.
So, but shout out to the Storm. We've been down in the Storm. They're one of the few clubs we've been to. They do a lot of work with the Resilience Project as well. And one thing I'll talk about them, which is kind of related, the respect starts at the top. They're all so respectful in that club, and they genuinely listen. They genuinely care. Yeah, you'll get some pushback from the performance staff. They're just doing their job, but the players, the staff, they're just the ultimate professionals, and it reflects on their performance on the field.
Oh, 100%, mate. And I even said, and I've always said this, I learned more off field than I did on field when I was down there, and I was there for 3 years, and I've taken so much away from how that organisation works. And a lot of the stuff you don't need a degree to do. A lot of it's just being a nice person, having high standards and respecting each other. And everyone tries to reinvent the wheel to think, oh, how do they do it down there? It's just they have a standard and a culture that's been set from the beginning, and the players push it. The staff don't push it. It's run by the players. And then you don't want to drop the ball, so to speak, with your actions and stuff, because the next person's going to hold you accountable for that. So there's such a high standard, but you want to be at that standard every day. It's infectious.
Yeah.
And it's no accident what they've done, mate. And they'll open the doors to anyone. They don't hide their success. They're like, if you want to come and see what we're about, come and do it. The problem is the clubs want to emulate what they're doing, but they're just not willing to actually commit to what they've got to do day in, day out, and the standards. Mate, you can't hide at that club. If you want to have shortcuts at that club, mate, you'll get found out quick.
I think it's what you just said. It kind of relates back to me oversimplifying the warning signs and symptoms. Everyone that goes into that club are looking for these complex things. But it's actually the simple things. And it's the simple things that they do repetitively and they get them right. No need to overcomplicate things in life.
No,
keep it simple and just keep doing it.
Yeah. No, that's good, mate. And again, I will shout out to them because they were a big part of my journey. Peter Robinson especially, really great man and knows how to manage people. He's such a funny guy, but he's been a great mentor for me with my own mental health journey, but seeing the impact he has on people at that club, because we all teach differently. We all have an ability to get across to people different, and to see how Robbo has that ability to go, he would just be rocking up in the gym and he'll have a bit of a joke with you and a conversation, but he's working in those times. And I think everyone's got the ability to, in this space, to have such an impact, and it doesn't mean it all looks the same. And he's really good at what he does. He's got his hands in a lot of stuff with men outside of the job too. He does so much work, and I'm going to get him on the podcast. And he's such a great man, a great leader in this space. But just again, another man that has got a genuine heart for this space, and I've learned so much. But yeah, that club, just good people, and like I said, it's a reflection on and what they are as a club and the success they've had. But mate, I don't want to. You mentioned earlier about the stickers and the awareness. I do want to talk about something that sits on your desk, and it's a card that was written to you with a $10 note.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Yeah, it's I actually read it yesterday. I was cleaning out a lot of stuff, and that card I'll never clean out. It's got a $10 note in it, and I don't know who sent it in, but it pretty much goes along the lines of I was at an event a few weeks ago, and I didn't have my wallet, and someone at LIVIN was kind enough to give me a sticker, even though I didn't have any money. Please take this $10 as a thank you, and in payment for the sticker. That sticker saved my life, and that sticker is the reason why my 3 kids still have a mum today. That sticker's on the back of my car, and I was heading to my car for what I thought would be the last time, but that sticker stopped me and encouraged me to ask for help and thank you. So for me, it sits there as a reminder, and with the $10 that will always sit in it, that even the small things can have a great impact. And like, we get caught up in the work, and we get caught up in being busy. It's also a reminder that what we're doing does have that impact, and just to keep going.
Yeah.
Times get tough because people need it. We I've got 2 other sort of great stories like that in regards to the merch. A friend of ours, Fawzy, lives in Palmy, and his office is in Tweed. So he reckons he got on the Gold Coast Highway one day and drove down to work, and he pulled in, and someone pulled in behind him and said, cool sticker. And he's got like 10 stickers on the back of his car. He goes, oh yeah, which one? He has the LIVIN sticker. And he said, I saw that sticker, and I thought I could follow you, and you're someone I could talk to. Long story short, and I wasn't really there, I wasn't there, so I don't really know all the details, but this guy was suicidal. He wanted to take his life, but he saw that sticker and knew that potentially this person could be someone that he could talk to. And our friend listened to him, did a great job listening to him, and got him to the professional support, and that person's still alive today.
Wow.
All because of a sticker. And that guy, unbeknown to him, he chose probably a great person to talk to. Fawzy will talk to anyone. Take the shirt off his back. And then, lastly, I got an email not long ago from this lady. She said she was eating what she thought was her last meal. She said, I wasn't really eating it. I was just shuffling it around the plate. And then I looked up and I saw this shirt that said it ain't weak to speak. And I just thought to myself, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. I quickly Googled it, found you guys, and I'm writing this email of thanks from hospital. I checked myself in. And then she started talking about the stigma. This person was a mental health clinician or a mental health nurse. And even she struggled with the stigma. It stopped her from accessing support. She actually she felt guilty that she felt this way when she shouldn't, when she works in the space. And the stigma was sort of so profound for her. She went to a completely different part of the state that she lives in just to check herself in the hospital. So she wasn't around the people that she works with. I don't know. I share those stories as a way to just to let people know that even the things that you don't think will have an impact, they can have an impact. You might never know, or you might not know for weeks or months or years down the track, but just keep showing up for people and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, I can't finish off without asking your own journey, mate, because it's one thing to start this, LIVIN, and it's your job, it's your work, it's everything you pour into. But how do you separate what you do for a job with your own mental health and how you are? Because it's one thing to be caught up in wanting to run a successful organization and have a heart for this space, but how do you spend time for yourself? Because we can be busy and we all think that we're helping people and we're doing it. How do you have things in place to keep you in check with your own mental health?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm still not perfect myself. Like when we get busy, I sort of don't prioritize myself, and I know I should, but I also sort of try and look forward to, okay, well, like at the moment, we're in one of our busiest weeks of the year, but I know that in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be so quiet, it's not funny. So I just push for 2 weeks. And so it's all about context. But for me, obviously my family, my wife and my kids, they're a big part of my support. And that's nothing fancy or nothing flash. It's just being around them. Where we live helps too. Like I'm out in the hills, in the country, and it's just a slower pace of life when you get home. Well, I'm a bit of a slave on the lawnmower come the weekend. Golf is great. For me, that's like 5 hours of just mindfulness. It's frustrating, but for me, it's mindfulness because you're just trying to get that ball in the hole. And I do my best to avoid the phone, leave that in the buggy or wherever, and just solely focus on that. Camping's a big one too. When we go camping, usually it's somewhere where there's no reception, which is fantastic. Once again,
but you go camping with pig though. So how's that?
Oh, the pig. Yeah, wow. Good thing about pig, he's usually in bed by 8 o'clock, so then I can enjoy myself. But yeah, like I think it's like the camping. You're around people and you're having a laugh, and all of us live busy and stressful lives. I think when we go camping, it's a big pressure valve release, and sometimes we can get a bit wild, a bit crazy. But I think it's all the good elements that all the things that are good for our mental health. It's the sun. It can be the sand or the salt water sometimes, or it's the bush. You're around people. There's no technology, and you don't have anywhere to be or anything to do, so you're just totally relaxed. And then like I am very lucky too. I've got a psychologist that sits next to me, and like he's one of my best mates. So it's nothing formal, but we just have check-ins with each other all the time. And whenever I'm going through stuff, I bounce it through him. Whenever he's going through stuff, I like to think that he bounces that through me as well. And so I'm lucky in that regard. I've got access to a psychologist every single day, but I think it's just about knowing what you're going through and being proactive.
Yeah, that's good, mate. You're a stronger man than me. Like I can't play golf, and to think of playing golf will absolutely frustrate the life out of me.
I don't know. I've just always liked it. I don't know what it is about golf, and now it's taking off. So I've got other people to play with, which is for years I couldn't get anyone to play with me. So, and I suppose there's two things that I didn't mention there is it's a routine, right? So having a good routine where back in the gym for so long I couldn't do any exercise. I've got psoriatic arthritis. So that's psoriasis, the skin stuff with rheumatoid arthritis. And the arthritis part's kind of what stopped me from getting gym. And this all came about from stress. It's an autoimmune disease. It was from stress. That was my body telling me, no, you need to look after yourself. And then it was a journey. Like I looked like ET for a while there. When I finished playing footy, I was in the 90s. I think I checked into hospital at 70. Wow. And the only reason I went to hospital is because after like 50 blood tests, they couldn't tell me what was wrong. The nurse in the hospital knew straight away, hit me with prednisone, and I could have run a marathon. Wow. But it was still like a 3-year journey after that. And now, the routine of gym, running, and then we're lucky enough at home we got an ice bath and a sauna. Just try and do that. The ice bath and sauna every day, and then the others every second day or every third day. Life happens too. So it's important to spend the time with the kids and let life happen as well.
I like that, mate, because like routine's huge for me, and I know how important it is for your mental health. I always say, like, I'm up early. I get up at 3:50 every morning, and I do all this because I love routine, and I operate so much better when I've been able to do what I want to do, and I do it when most people are asleep, and it's not a thing that I've got one up over anyone. It's because a lot of the time you'll mention things to people, you should do this, I don't have enough time. I make the time because I know how important it is for me, and I've got no distractions in that time. I've got no emails to check, I've got no texts off people at that hour. So I go and I spend my time in prayer every morning, I read the Bible, I go off to the gym. By the time I've got home just after 6 o'clock, people are just waking up, but I've got so much of my stuff in that's going to put me in a better position to have a great day. And there are days I don't, but that's always a staple for me and a non-negotiable because that's my medicine, and I need that to set me up. And everything else comes throughout that day. If you put it off, things could happen, and then you don't actually get around to going to the gym, and then next minute something else happens. Haven't gone to the gym for 2 days, and so you aren't looking after yourself, and you're prioritizing other things that a lot of the time actually don't matter as much. But I think building that consistency, it becomes a good habit, and then the more better habits you have in your life, it's just you just wake up. It's not something you think you have to do. It's just you want to do because you feel so good.
Routine is so important because, like, with the ice bath or running, no one enjoys those things.
No.
But if you've got a routine, you just fall back onto the routine. It's just a system, so less things can go wrong, and you just rely on that.
Yeah. No, awesome, man. Well, today's been awesome to have you on, mate. Again, I really thank you for giving up your time to come and have this conversation. I know many people will listen to this and get so much from it. I love your heart for this space, mate. I really admire what you're doing and what you'll continue to do in this space and transforming lives, mate. And don't take that lightly for what you do and the impact you have on the community and the world, mate, because I know that this has been something that you've reached to many people worldwide as well. So, good on you, mate, and, keep doing what you're doing. And I suppose to finish off, if there's someone out there that is in a position that is struggling right now, listen to this, and maybe they are suicidal or maybe they just feel like, they've got nothing left, what would be your last bit of advice?
Firstly, like at any time, feel free to reach out to us. Reach out to me, reach out to LIVIN. Just know that no matter how much pain you're going through right now, just please hold on. Like I know that it can be tiring. It's tormenting in a way. Like it's just relentless sometimes, but it can get better. You just need to hold on a little bit longer, get the appropriate support, stack a few wins on top of each other, and just like start small, start simple, stack a few wins, and life can change and life can become beautiful. You just need to hold on because life is worth living. And life's not always going to be full of ups. There's going to be downs. But that's what makes life beautiful. And like I've seen some people that have gone through the absolute worst. They're still here. They're still smiling. And they're still putting the pieces to the puzzle. They're still affected by those things, but they're growing through them and they're using them to make themselves better people. And you're loved. Like I know it's a cliche. There is someone in your life that cares about you. There's someone in your life that loves you. You just need to give them that opportunity to give you the support that you need or to give you the love that you need. Put your hand up. You owe it to them. You owe it to yourself. Put your hand up and ask for help.
It's beautiful, brother.
But mate, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. We met however long ago that was, and both two different people. And look at what we're both doing now. And this kind of relates to what I just said. Life changes. Life is so different. And, if we sort of, after a game back then or after training, had a beer and looked at each other and thought we'd be doing this all this time later, we never both thought this would be possible. But, here we are doing completely different things. And, mate, you're doing amazing things yourself. And I think that the best thing we can all do is be a good example for others. And, mate, you're doing that every single day. So credit to you, and you're making the change that you want to see.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
It's that's all we can ask of people.
Yeah, that's right.
So thank you.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Thanks for tuning in to the Rise Above podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and be part of these real conversations. A big thank you to Active Coolangatta for proudly sponsoring this podcast. Your support means a lot. You can catch every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.